Hey y'all, this is BDC. Thanks for checking out this video and my channel. Today I am doing a short, slightly disorganized, I will admit, review of Valheim. I just picked this game up yesterday and it seems to be, at least for now, all the rage. I had a buddy of mine who was playing it and he streamed it for me on Discord, and I checked it out and watched him play it for a little while, and it looked interesting enough for me to go ahead and grab it and check it out on my own. So I went ahead and played it a little bit and then decided that it was so good that I also set up a server for it for all of my friends. So now we're starting on it. So I guess if I were to answer the question, is it any good, with a simple answer, the simple short answer would be, oh yeah, it's fantastic. But what I wanted to do was go over some of the bullet points of some of the things I've got jotted down over here on what makes this game, in my opinion, very good. So, to start here, a little bit of disclosure. This is not going to be an exhaustive review of the entire game or anything like that. I'm not going to go in depth into many of the details or what have you on it, simply because I've only played it for about 5 or 6 hours at this point. So, in the grand scheme of things, I'm still new to it. But some of the stuff I can tell you about it is that it has a very old school, brutal, hardcore feel to it, and it kind of reminds me of a combination of Ark Survival Evolved and EverQuest. Let's see. How about we go into the server and I'll show you around. So anyway, I'm here on the server. I just connected to it, and as you can see, I'm standing inside of a constructed house. This is where I logged myself out. One thing I wanted to show off is this game immediately reminded me of like old school World of Warcraft. Graphically, it feels very nostalgic. It has kind of a 2000 to 2005 kind of vibe to it. It's pretty cool. I immediately noticed it. I got a big kick out of how the graphics for the settings, menu and things like that are set up. But anyway, on to some of the gameplay. The basics of Valheim is that, or the story behind it rather, is that you are presumably a warrior or something else that has died, and you are in Valheim, which is supposed to be some type of purgatory. So there's this like Norse, Viking mythological, Odin is a god type thing to it. And there's magic, and there's monsters, and and all other sorts of that kind of thing involved in it. So it's got a particularly gritty feel to it. It's a visually very pretty game, but if you look closely at a lot of the objects, everything is kind of blocky, low resolution, up close kind of a thing. So again, it kind of has a nostalgic feel to it. This does, I believe. This is why the game is only 1 gig in size, so it's very, very small. But anywho, this whole thing revolves around, or centered on, survival on this tree island of some kind. What I'll wind up doing, by the way, is down below I'll put some description, links, materials, stuff like that for further reference in here. There's more reading out there on some of the background lore and that kind of thing like that. But our interest in it is from a purely cooperative, hardcore, brutal survival type of thing. So the way that they've constructed this game is it's very persnickety. Just to give you an idea, everything in the environment affects everything else. It's not like your typical survival game. So if I get a little bit too close to the fire, I get a little bit too warm, I can even stand next to it and it'll, catch me on fire, and, every little thing like that is a thing in this game. Something else I wanted to show off here real quick. Let's see. So a lot of the trees here have been cut down for the sake of constructing that 2.5, 3-story house, whatever you want to call it. But here's something right here. So you can take a constructed axe and you can knock down these trees. These beech trees are the ones that are common. Okay, this tree's coming down. It's affecting, well, maybe this one won't in particular, but if I fell another tree over here, then depending upon where it falls or how it falls, it can smash into another tree, and I have to watch it because if it lands on you, it can crush you. It affects other trees, and so it can wind up having a deleterious or avalanche effect on things. So it's pretty cool. It's one of those things that kind of struck me by surprise, that it's not like a lot of these other games where wood crafting involves, the chopping down of trees and they just fall down, and then, they're transparent. They have no simulation within the world, meaning collision or gravity or anything like that. But on this one, you have to watch out where they fall. You can get crushed. They can smash into other objects. They can crush your your constructed objects or what have you. You can get rolled over by some of those giant tree logs, which has actually happened to me. I got killed by one of those like that. And another thing, I think last night I was whacking on one of these tree stumps, and it was a little bit too close to the house while it was still under construction, and a piece of it went flying off, and it landed into that campfire thing, and it, of course, went over it, destroyed it, and all that jazz like that. But anyway, there's a fairly complex construction system in this, and like I've said, for the sake of full disclosure, I have not been to the far edge technologically on this. I don't know how far it goes. The only thing I do know is that there is like a Bronze Age type thing where you're able to start making bronze tools, and then there's iron and that sort of thing like that. And as you go further into the world, you have to mine those things and what have you. So there's a whole build system on here, and just to kind of give you an idea, you can build this hammer tool, and then depending upon the materials that you've come across, they unlock the certain blueprints of the things that you can construct. So I think at this point I've come across 3 different types of wood: beech wood, pine wood, and I think fir wood or something to that effect. And so that kind of thing dictates the amount of stuff that you can build, the quality of wood for the structures, things like that. The structures also, the way that they have designed this, it's very persnickety on how you construct the walls and the ceilings and the use of columns, rafters, ridge lines, what have you. And if you build it wrong, the whole thing can fall apart. So it's not as simple as, say, something like Ark or some of the other games where you put down a foundation clump and then a wall and a ceiling and call it good. You have to be very physics, logically minded whenever you construct shelters and structures in here and what have you. So the other thing I wanted to go over, let's see, some of the player stuff here. So inventory is based on slots versus maximum weight. I do not know if you can modify this maximum weight or if this is something that you can work on skills to increase over time. But basically you can carry 300 pounds of inventory, and that's total. That's including all your clothing. Like, for instance, I have a few pieces of leather that I've put together. And then I've got some coins, food, whatever. The food thing ties directly into your health. And so you have 3 food items that can go on basically a food, a bar or whatever. And each one yields, based on its description, how much stamina it will give you, and that has to do with your ability to run and sneak and what have you and all that, as well as how much total health that you'll recover out of it. And there's other things that that can deal with this also. When you are resting next to a campfire, that can elicit, resting and comfort buffs and that sort of thing like that can help you recover health. So if it's something that you think could realistically happen in the real world, it is probably something that is in here. That seems to be the thing that they're going for. So the noise you make affects critters. Staying out in the wet cold, when it's raining, it can affect you and be deleterious or have ill effects on your health, that kind of thing like that. So you have to seek shelter. Also, the way that the house is constructed, and that sort of thing like that. So something else I wanted to go into here. You have a compendium here, and that kind of gives you a little knowledge base of whatever stuff you've come across. But I wanted to go into skills, and the skills here seem to be modeled after old school EverQuest. And I don't know if if it's still like that with the original game. The game's been around 20, 21 years now, but you literally have to do those things to master those skills, or say those spells if you're a magic user. So let's say in EverQuest, if you were a wizard and you just picked up a new fireball, you know, or some area of effect, you know, fire rain spell or what have you, you had to cast it over and over and over and over and over again to gain the skill to be able to reduce the frequency of the spells fizzling out and that sort of thing like that. Same sort of thing here, in that, like, let's say you go running, your run skill will bit by bit go up, and you will run faster, you will consume slightly less stamina, that sort of thing like that. Your sneak skill, whenever you're sneaking up to critters, say for hunting, which I'll go and demonstrate here in a minute, same sort of thing. I think it modifies the amount of stamina that you're using while you're doing this, plus just your overall skill at being sneakier and making less noise, that kind of thing like that. So the skills thing applies to just damn near everything. Sword, spears, knives, swimming. Yes, you actually have to go in and practice swimming. You get a little bit faster at it, a little bit more efficient with your stamina usage, that kind of thing. Everything having to do with any weapons usage, blocking with shields, arrows for bow hunting, the whole 9 yards. It's all based on skills, and when you die, that's a bad thing. Here, I'm going to go ahead and kill this guy. Come on. So these guys are called Grey Dwarves, and they're one of the common enemies that roam around here. Pretty easy to kill. So smack him with a thing, and then with the club. I'm using the club on them, and then block with the shield. So anyway, to get back to what I was talking about here, when you die, you don't lose levels, because in this game there are no levels. What you wind up doing is you wind up losing skills, so you have to reprogress your skills. So it's pretty nasty. It's an interesting take on it, since, like in some of the older games, older MMOs or RPGs, when you die, your experience level winds up going backwards. You can maybe either flatline your current level at the very beginning, or reseed back into the prior level and then have to, you know, regain experience type thing. So one thing I wanted to demonstrate here while I'm out here, and I've got the bow, and I should have enough arrows made. Yeah, I do. I've got some wood arrows and some flint head arrows, and of course, like in many other games, they have different effects on how much damage they do or what have you. I wanted to demonstrate hunting for critters, as that is a big thing in here. Speaking of hunting here, let's pop this guy. Oh, he's dead. Being an archer in this, even though it's nothing that's necessarily class specific as compared to, say, other games, it's a lot of fun. It's very powerful. I actually enjoy it quite a bit, and the bows, even the crude bow that you can make earlier on with the standard wooden arrows, seems to do a lot of damage. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for either deer or pigs. They will render these leather scraps and deer skins, or deer hide rather in this case, that give you some of the requirements that are needed to make especially some of the earlier types of pieces. So, oh, there's some deer right there. I hear one of them. So in this, the hunting, something I wanted to talk about is it has a little bit of a Hunter Call of the Wild vibe to it. You can hear the critters, you can spook them or not spook them. They respond to you and your footsteps and all that kind of jazz like that. So let's see if I can pop this one. Boom, one down. And he's spooked. There's a red exclamation mark, and he's now running off. So I should have gotten some raw meat and a little piece of a deer hide. So let's see. We'll go back over to our main headquarters. Something else before I forget. The world on this game is procedurally generated. And for a game like this, that seems to be a new thing. I've only seen procedurally generated stuff on, let's see, Imperion Galactic Survival, Deep Rock Galactic with the procedurally generated caves, things of that nature. But on this, it's procedurally generated, so hopping from server to server will yield a different map experience. It's not like you know, your other RPGs and MMOs that have a solid fixed map, you know, terrain or what have you. So that's an interesting thing, and as you can tell, it's absolutely massive. And as far as I can tell, there's no horses or anything like that, so it's a whole lot of walking. Again, kind of going back to the whole brutal thing, you know, the brutal aspect of it. But let's see. I am going to run back. I'm giving you good, honest gameplay here, by the way. As I said at the beginning, you know, full disclosure, I haven't played this a whole lot, but I've gotten my feet wet enough to determine and make my own opinion that this is just an absolutely fantastic game, especially if it's if you, the viewer, are looking for a game that harkens back to the more old school type of hardcore gameplay where you actually had to work for stuff. You know, not necessarily mindless grinding per se, but more like you had to actually earn whatever it was that you're trying to get, rather than having it all handed to you easily. That, in my opinion, seems to be a little bit more of a hallmark of newer games. Oh, come on. Kind of nice to get to see a little bit of combat in this. So, I love the shield and melee work in this game. The shields have a thing for, they tend to stagger the enemy when they smack you. Everything's stamina based, so you have to be careful. You can't just stand there, base tank it forever, because you will run out of stamina. Then you can't hold your shield, you can't swing your axe or your blade or your club or what have you, and then you may also be prevented from running away and you can get killed. So, anywho, let's see, what do we have? Back here at the house, and I have gone over hunting. We talked about building. I can demonstrate a little bit of what the workbench is like real fast. Yes, I need to warm up. Let's see, not necessarily cold, but we have one workbench. This is the one that we started with when we came out here. This is one of the first actual things that you build, and in here, this is where you can craft a lot of your tooling, your starting stuff. I can make clubs, torches, you know, leather stuff, so a few different types of arrows, you know, wooden shields, something called a stag breaker. I haven't tried that yet, but I think it's this big two-handed mallet that just slams really hard, and you know, stuff like that. You can upgrade these workbenches by adding certain things to them. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Here, chopping block. That's a workbench upgrade, and so you place this next to the workbench, and now it's a grade 2 or level 2 workbench. And then the tanning rack, which is a level 3, and then that opens up additional crafting recipes in there that you can do. So it's pretty well put together, the way that they've designed it. Let's see. Storage. You can build chests. I don't think I've shown the downstairs inside of this house once it's all lit up like this and everything's fully set up. And here we have an upgraded workbench with a lot of stuff we can do in it. So that's kind of cool, and it's upgraded with all these things. That's an adze. That's kind of neat. I haven't seen one of those in here yet. We have a forge, and a forge you can use for doing metal crafting type stuff. I wasn't on last night whenever they constructed this, so I'll admit that I'm not exactly sure some of the stuff you can do in there, but I think it's for making bronze and iron tools, hand tools, maybe even melee swords, that, you know, that kind of thing like that. You can do your storage type things. You have these chests where you can hold stuff. You can construct these things, these houses or, you know, structures however you want. Let's see. I have a nice some kind of like a deer skin rug or something that you can make, and having it next to the fire massively increases your comfort level, and that's something that I believe helps you with stamina and some other stuff and gives you that rested buff right there, so that's kind of nice. Cookie's pretty simple. Let's see, I've got 2 raw meats. I'll go ahead and light that up. Let's see if I can add any wood to the fire. So these campfires, basically these fireplaces, they hold 10 wood, and 10 wood's a piece of cake to find. You throw that in there and it'll basically last for hours. So it's not like one of these things as compared to, say, Dark and Light or Ark or things like that, where you have campfires that you have to constantly maintain or be a little bit more on top of, you know, type thing. It's a lot less of a maintenance headache. So here's how cooking works. It's pretty simple. So there's my raw meat, and I still can't get over the block graphics of this. It's so old school, 15 years ago type of thing. It's very nostalgic. Food in this cooks real quick. So you can see the little low-res smoke puffs coming up from it. And when you hear the hissing noise, and if you look closely, you'll see that the meat's darkened. Pick them back up. Boom. And there they are. And they have added to my second stack of cooked meat. Very simple. Raw meats, cooked meats, anything like that that's of a perishable nature doesn't perish. So none of that stuff's kept track of. You don't have to worry about running around with a bunch of cooked meat and trying to figure out a way to refrigerate it. It's not that complex as compared to, say, Ark, you know, where that's a thing. Preserving bins and refrigerators, you know, later on, that sort of thing like that. You don't have to worry about stuff like that in this game. So it's very simple. And I think when I was running across here earlier, I found a plant that had some raspberries on it. There you go. So you can pick these guys up, and you can add these to your food bar. And then, like I'm going to right now, so boom, he's going to eat one. You can eat 3 different types of food at once. And then there's this thing I have here called a grilled necktail. And those are from killing these little critters called necks, and they're like little lizards. And here comes my next victim. Come here. What you got, buddy? Is he one of the whelps? Yeah, he's one of the graylings. I'll kill him either. So, club, fantastic weapon in this game, especially if you're starting out. Little bonk them over the heads. I'm hoping in this that I'll be able to find some pigs, so you guys can see what that looks like. They tend to roam around all over the place. It's probably going to be one of those things that's a Murphy's Law thing, that I won't be able to find any, you know, while I'm doing this recording, and then once I'm done with it and everything's posted up, then they'll pop back up. And they'll be everywhere. So you can find oh, speaking of it, which I think I heard him out here. Yep, there's one. So, and there's a deer off to my left. So he hears me. That's a boar. Boom. He's done. I like the little pop explodey effect. It kind of gives you a visual indicator as to where your kill is, or, you know, whatever it is that you just killed died, so you don't have to sit there and hunt for it in the grass. That's a nice touch, I think. Going back to structures that are found out here, this one's a player one, but you can run into all sorts of wood ones that are crafted out there, and they are procedurally generated, not handcrafted by players. Let me clarify. That can be out there. You can tear them down, get the wood out of them, what have you. There's even some stone ones. This one looks like some kind of an outpost that one of our friends made, and that's kind of a nice thing. I had considered doing that. When I was playing this last night, I was roaming around and went out to a portion of the map called the Dark Forest, and it is this whole area, at least on my map, right here. So I've run all over the place, and I've been out for a couple hours and did a lot of exploration last night, all out on foot, and there's what I uncovered, and that's how big the map is. So, you know, I could probably go for hours and hours and hours on this pretty endlessly. So here's what water looks like. We'll do a little bit of swimming. Swimming is a skill that you have to do, so I just got swim skill 6. So you actually have to do the skill, and my recommendation is when you start, you stay next to the shoreline, because when you first start swimming, your guy just flies through stamina, and he can drown very easily. So once you run out of stamina in the water, you start drowning. You have to get out, and you can't swim out of it. It's pretty hardcore. It's pretty gnarly. So, like I said earlier in this video, brutal survival game. It's just every little thing that you think could happen seems like it's designed to happen in this game. It seems like they have a very heavy bent on the brutal survival aspect of it, to try and make it as hardcore and visceral and gritty as possible. And honestly, it's one of the things that's so endearing to me, because I have been looking for a multiplayer game to play that's just like that. In my estimation, a lot of the ones out there, save, say, Ark. Ark is a pretty brutal game. Actually, it's probably more of an exceptionally brutal game. Most of the games are pretty easy. So, anywho, let's see. Moving right along, we spoke about the size of the game. We talked about building. There was one thing I did want to demonstrate. You can make what's called a hoe tool. That's kind of funny, but this is used to mess with the terrain. So you can do a lot of stuff with it. It's pretty cool. And you can flatten the ground. Well, as you may have already figured out just by watching this, the entire game's terrain can be modified. That might be one of the reasons why it's constructed like this. And it's not voxel based, say like Space Engineers or Empyrean or what have you, but it's whatever this type of format is. So let's say I wanted to build a small little beach house right here, and if I put some supports out here and all that, and flattened all this out, just like I'm doing now, I could do it. I could have a raised, say, on columns or piers, a raised foundation house that I can make right here, and I can have a little stairwell that goes into it, and I can do it on this level ground. So it's pretty cool. I mean, in a game like this, where you can do individual walls and columns and piers and pillars, and and design your own roofs. You can do gambrel roofs, slope roofs, shed roofs. I mean, gable roofs, all sorts of stuff, depending upon how you want to build it, piece by piece. You can kind of go nuts with it. So for those players out there that have a little bit of an architectural thing about them, or better understand that stuff, that's pretty cool. It really gives you a lot that you can explore. Oh, I think I hear one of these necks over here. These rocks on the ground, by the way, these are called flint, and I collect them from time to time. They're going to be out around the water, and flint is used to make some of the earlier flint tools, amazingly enough. Where are you? Where are you, little critters? Come here. Oh, there's something. That's one of these little guys. I'll just blast him. He'll be dead in a couple of whacks. And give me my resin. Let's see. I hear some of these necks out here. These are the ones that drop those tails, the cooked neck tail, like what I was eating. I'm on the edge of the Black Forest on this map. You can kind of see where it starts to shift, and a lot of the critter spawns in the Black Forest are considerably tougher. There's one, and he is dead. So there's a variety of stuff in this. The Black Forest also has trolls, and they're 2 or 3 stories tall. They're pretty nasty. They chase you. The aggro range stuff on critters is normal compared to some other games. They don't see you from way out there and come charging at you and surprise you. But if you get into a fight and you start running, they're pretty relentless. They will stay on you, and they will chase you the entire time. So running from a fight becomes less of a thing. You can't do a lot of the hit and run tactics that you can do in other stuff. I'm gonna peg this bird right here. Got him. So let's see. We should have gotten some feathers, and feathers are used to make some of the nicer arrows, like on these guys, flint head arrows. They have a flint arrowhead, I think a wooden body, and then they use bird feathers on the end, and they do more damage, and I believe they have less of a drop as compared to the standard wood arrows. So there you go, just a little tip on some of the arrows there. Let's see, I don't think there's anything else really to go over on this. I've gone over pretty much the building stuff. We have our compendium, we have our skills. Those are things, let me reiterate, you actually have to earn these in the field. So if you want to be a good shield guy, you have to get bashed, holding a shield a bunch of times, and that likely increases your parry rate and reduces the stamina for using it, that kind of thing like that. Maybe the infect up to 7. I'm not exactly sure. Trophies you can get for constructing things. And then if you want to enable PvP, this game is so huge you could probably have multiple, clans of players on it, and they'll never see each other, type of thing. But we play all this co-op. So I think that's it. So that is my mostly somewhat not terribly exhaustive review of Valheim. This game is an absolute gem. Is a fantastic game. It is so much fun. Has such a good hardcore old school feel to it. Nostalgic, huge map. For me, it really feels like I've gone back in time to 20 years ago, playing an older game when they were difficult. Like I've said a few times already, you have to earn your way through it. Heavy crafting, humongous map. Very good cooperative gameplay with your friends, hardcore skills building, the whole 9 yards. So for anybody out there that is looking for a difficult, and they call it brutal, now that's their words, not mine, a difficult, brutal, hardcore survival game that's very fun, challenging, pick this one. It's very, very good. Dedicated server. It's very simple to set up. Doesn't take long. And I suspect we will probably be playing this for a few months. That's, and then exploring to see where everything goes. And this is still early access, so they hopefully will still continue to add more content to it. I'm hoping they add horses. I don't know if horses are a thing in here. It'd be nice to be able to ride around on a horse instead of having to walk everywhere, or at least find some other means of traveling. Something that's not cheesy, like fast traveling type thing. Anywho, that's my review on Valheim. Get this game. It is so good. So, hope you guys enjoy it. Hit those like and sub buttons, please. Any questions or comments you have, leave them down below, and I will do my best to answer every one of them. So, you guys have a good one. Thank you for watching.